Hello and welcome to Storied Sojourns. We are here and the party has reached a critical point. They have uncovered many different mysteries on the island of Chamenos thus far. And now they are facing an interesting opportunity, an opportunity to employ perhaps divine insights through the vessel that is the witch, aka the Oracle of Notiavuna. And you guys have delivered on your promise of bringing her an egg. You guys chose the silver egg. And when we last left off, Talos was in a wild-shaped form as a winged defender, keeping an eye out for the Chimera, who you guys saw flying around, aggressively searching for the missing egg, but seemingly not finding this little valley where the witch's hut is located. And you guys were presented with the option of coming up with 5 questions. 5 questions for the gods that the Oracle would reach out and answer. Now, she gave you an opportunity to discuss amongst yourselves what you would do and what your questions would be. And so you guys are kind of standing outside on the front porch with Talos right above you, kind of resting on a sturdy point of the roof of the shack. So, discuss.
Well, obviously one of our essential questions would be to ask about the orb that is the original reason why we even took this journey.
Yeah, so the orb and definitely some Chimera stuff, because even though the orb was the reason we're here, we just got here and got a lot more questions.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, because it's been a little while, who is actually in possession of the orb at this time?
I believe it's me, but I could be wrong.
You
thought
want?
we gave it to the lady. I thought she was holding on.
Oh yeah, we made her hold it, didn't we? I think I remember that because we didn't want to carry around the dead kids.
Yeah, I don't remember if she gave it back to us, but I know we handed it to her.
I'm pretty sure we left it there while we were. Plus, like, we had to sneak up originally, so we didn't want dead kids because they can't sneak.
Yeah, I know the dead homies are outside her little place.
Well, I think we left it in there currently.
Okay, so she didn't touch it. I think she had you set it down, yeah? Like using like cloth?
I believe so.
That sounds correct.
Okay. So you have your questions in mind?
Yes.
Now, who will be asking the questions once you guys go in?
Who do we think would be best to ask these questions? I mean, does it matter?
Well, I do believe a certain linguistic skill is required in their phrasing, a certain intellectual language, if you will.
I call really loudly as a vulture. And then just go back to walking around on the roof.
All right. That is fine.
I personally think Talos.
So if and I will say, just from a meta thing, the way, you can ask a question, you can receive a response, and then if you decide to like huddle together and ask another question, it's not like the questions have to come out one after another. So you can actually discuss before posing a final question, so to speak. So I will keep track of this. As you guys have prepared your questions and you're ready to head back in, you see that the oracle's like set up this area kind of where you guys were having tea, but she's cleared away some space on the blanket in front of her. And you see like a bunch of strange kind of paraphernalia laid out. including like this circle of small bones that you think might be just like, it could be like squirrels or something, but just like rodent skulls and bones that are kind of made into a circle. And she has like candles at these 5 points, kind of equidistant from each other, from the center. And then in the center, she has this like wooden plate. And then she's got some incense burning. So she invites you to sit down in the circle. And she gestures, bearing in mind that she's blind. She gestures to each one of you. And she just like looks out and she's like, sit, choose a place next to one of the candles. Yes, choose a place. And then she waits for you guys to sit down, and then she kind of cocks her head a little bit, and she says, "Your friend can hear us." Yes. Now breathe in, close your eyes, and concentrate as we channel forth the gods. Yes. We shall channel forth the gods. And your questions. Yes, your questions. Each question carefully sought and carefully thought of. We shall channel the gods together. And she takes, each one of you like kind of puts out your hands, and she says, join hands now, and we shall commence. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now, I must know your first question. You seek answers, and the gods are listening here. And she kind of rocks back and forth, and she starts muttering in a language. Do any of you speak Primordial?
I very much considered that, but no.
I do!
All right. You hear her in this strange kind of guttural, very primitive, it's not even like words, it's almost like a variety of sounds. But she begins making these sounds that you recognize as primordial communications of, basically she's whispering like awakenings to all of the different elements. She kind of says these awakening messages to earth and wind and fire and water and to the void. And she begins naming all of the gods. And she begins calling out to each of the gods. And she, multiple times, she kind of repeats this cycle. And this goes on for about 10 minutes. And at last, she looks out and she says, the gods are ready. Speak your first question. Yes, speak your first question.
Just now, we encountered a strange entity within the Chimera's cave. The first question we will ask the gods is, what is the plan of this entity within the cave?
What is the plan of this entity within the cave? And she rocks back and forth and repeats the question. And this goes on for about a minute, and then she kind of sits up and she says, the plan is unification. He seeks to unify the greatest of the powers around the continent to bring them all together. Yes, that is what he seeks to do. To unify and break free. Yes.
I was with him on the first half, but I don't know like that second part. All right. Our second question. The origin of our visit here is this strange dark orb with seemingly unknown arcane possibilities to us. Our second question is, what is the full extent of power held within this orb?
She repeats your question.
They seek to know the power. Yes, they seek to know the power, the full extent of power within this orb. Tell us. Yes, tell us. Tell us the full extent of the power.
And she like violently kind of shakes back and forth for a few minutes and then snaps out of it and looks up and opens her white eyes, pale and white eyes.
The full extent of the power is that of Synchron, the power of death and the void. It is necessary for the unification to break free. Speak your next question.
Can we take a quick timeout?
Well, can I ask the third one first, and then we'll figure out what we're doing with our last two here. And then...
Okay.
Alright.
Yes.
Our third question. Our goal here, we are trying to unify ourselves. We would like to bring peace to this continent and the creatures within it. So, we would like to know, what is the greatest threat to our goal within this continent?
Your goal is peace to the continent. The greatest threat to your goal are the Dark Ones. The Scotino. Yes. Scotino. They are the Dark Ones. They are imprisoned here and they wish to break free. They do not seek peace. They seek destruction. There must be death and destruction for them to break free. If they create the unification, there will be doom for Chamenos.
Let's take a little convening here. A little...
She nods and just like rocks back and forth, waiting for you guys. So you kind of like whisper to yourselves off to the side.
Okay, so I mean the orb thing makes sense because when I touched the orb before, it said unity in primordial. So the orb is needed for the unification, and the deity in the cave is trying to go for unification. And if that happens, then your evil homies will wreak havoc over Chamenos. Is this the gist?
Yeah, see, I thought I'm pro unification, but not this type of unification.
No, yeah, I was like, at first I was
They're
like, that's
using good wording, but they're very bad. They're like, oh, break free, let's liberalize the people, but they're actually evil demon people.
Yeah, so...
Well, I think one question would be specifically, I would assume that it's some kind of unification of all of these great elemental powers, like the many chromatic and metallic dragon eggs that were collected. With the powers like that, if one person were unifying them, or unifying many of the gods' powers. Like this orb has the power of the god of death within it. So unifying this power with other powers of the gods may be similar. Yeah, I definitely think we should either what needs to happen for unification or what do the dark. I don't know what phrasing sounds better.
So, is the entity in the cave... I want to say it wrong, because she mentioned names, but I don't know how to spell them, so I wrote them down probably wrong. But, yeah, Synchron? So is that the...
God of Death? And I think maybe he wants to work for that, like use its power, because that's what's in the orb, is like all the like death god power.
So who's in the cave?
I don't think she told us exactly.
It's just
he didn't tell you exactly because you didn't ask. But you asked specifically about what is the plan of the entity in the cave, which is where she said basically to achieve the unification of the most powerful beings on the continent to break free from Chamenos.
I think
he didn't tell you who that person was. Now, he said his name when he was rescued. Do you guys remember it?
Oh,
when Jordan rescued him, when Talos rescued him, he said his name was Hamaris.
What if he's lying?
Well, you don't know that, but he did give you a name.
This is why I need to organize my notes, because they're just...
Yeah. Well, my other thing that I thought we could ask was, what would we need to do to stop this unification? Or what? Does that sound right?
Or who?
Yes.
To stop the unification. Maybe we have friends. Maybe there's a god that wants to not have that happen.
Yeah, I think we really need to ask what needs to happen for unification, because we can't stop this if we don't know how it's happening.
That's fine. That's science.
Science. Also, is his name Hamaris?
Or just what needs to happen to bring peace to Chamenos? Or
how can we peacefully unify Chamenos
without
not via death liberation?
Does that make sense?
Is there a god of life that we could just unify with life?
I think the best way to phrase it, where we would get the most direct answer, would be what needs to happen, like, for unification. Obviously, okay, maybe there's a better way to phrase that, but somewhere around there.
How
required for unification?
Well, what do we need to do? Like, what can we do to stop it? Like, can we unify them for us? I don't know.
Okay. Also, sorry. So your boy in the cave. I have written down Hamaris. Creature took him and his farm.
Okay.
Is that his name?
Hamaris?
I wrote down Hamaris, but
yes, Hamaris.
Nice, did it. So that's the name of the dude in the cave.
Mm-hmm. Maybe more than likely.
So we could research his name to see if he comes up anywhere is like some sort of deity, if he's
Chimera tamer.
Yeah, like who the heck Hamaris is. I mean, obviously this might not even be like his real name. It could be not.
It might be a bit more of a personal thing than a large-scale research. I'm sure maybe other individuals in the area or somewhere might know more of this name.
So in the campaign notes, you guys, I posted the summaries of the answers for questions 1, 2, and 3. I put them in italics. So where you had your questions, I put those in italics.
Thank you. I jotted them down on my notes in Chicken Scratch, but I probably won't be able to read them later.
So the first question was, what is the plan of the entity in the cave? And that was to achieve the unification of the most powerful beings on the continent, to break free. What is the greatest threat to our goal within this continent? Which you again identified as a togetherness and peace. And she said your greatest threat are the Scotino, who are the dark ones. because they seek
Destruction.
yeah.
Okay.
Or
So I think
what if we just ask, what can we do to stop this Scomeno? Scotino.
But so in order for the Scotino to break free, chaos already needs to be happening.
Chaos is pretty much always happening on Chamenos. Like, yeah. Remember that Skjorn left a horde of people who travel an entire region of the continent, just continuously pillaging because they can. And that's like one of many hordes.
Well,
Yes.
They need the orb to free them, and I think Hamaris is the one. He's either works for them, he's a head honcho of the Scotino, but I think he's trying to use them to achieve this ultimate goal.
Okay, so we're asking, what do the Dark Ones wish to, like, what specifically are they unifying to break free?
I mean, like, what is the exact process of unification?
Or like, what can we do to stop the unification and save Camille?
Yes.
I
Sounds
don't know
good
if
to
that
me.
counts as two. It's not the same thing.
Okay, so what is question 4? Is it what can we do to stop the unification and save Chamenos?
Sure. It's probably gonna be two.
Okay, so you guys go back into the circle. She seems like she has not stopped her like, you know, kind of rocking back and forth and chanting in primordial. And you join hands with her, and she says,
The gods are listening. Speak, if you will, the next of your questions. Yes.
We must ask now. It's our role in this. What can our group do to stop this unification and save Chamenos?
What can they do to stop the unification and save Chamenos? Yes, what can they do to stop the unification and save Chamenos? Yes.
and then she stops rocking back and forth, and she opens her eyes again, and they're kind of crossed and blinded, and she looks up at the skies, and then she says,
Each of you is a pillar. You must become the heroes that you are destined to be. To stop the Scotino, you must bring together all of the people of Chamenos, who you wish to keep alive, to fight against the forces of evil. They seek to destroy the island and to break free and spread their vile deception across the world. To stop their unification, you must take all of the things that they seek to bring about the destruction. You must gather all of the elements. You must fight the icons of their destiny.
and then she kind of like leans forward, and you see a small trickle of blood coming out of her nose and out of her ears. And she seems like very weak, and she's like,
One more question you have. Yes, one more.
I hate to take another time out because she's bleeding, but I think we need another time out.
okay, so you guys like pull away again, and you huddle over across on the side, and you're like, pss, 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 pss.
We got a healer. Something is going bad.
This wasn't specific at all. The answer.
We could either ask my two biggest things probably are how do we collect these elements, or how do we become these heroes? Like, how do we unite the people?
What if we just put a little "and" in there? I wonder if that counts as one question. We were like,
is that what you want to do? Where would we? Where should we start? What should be our first goal in uniting the people or collecting these elements?
I mean,
what do you guys think?
I mean, how?
Because I'm very befuddled by
Where
this.
is the first thing that will help us? Something like that.
Well, so, like, how?
I guess the best thing would be what would be.
How do we gather the elements is the main thing coming in my head, because I mean, we could become the heroes we're meant to by gathering the elements.
That makes sense.
So let me summarize what I put into the notes. When you asked, what can we do to stop the unification and save Chamenos? In summary, she said, become the heroes you were destined to be, collect all of the elements, unite the people against the Scotino and their forces, and defeat the icons of evil.
What's the icons of evil?
Gather elements, unite the people, defeat the icons of evil.
Should we ask what the... Are the icons of evil the Latinos? I think that makes sense. Should we ask that?
We can ask for the icons of evil, or where are the icons?
We're either gonna ask, what are the icons of evil? What are the icons of evil? Or we could ask...
Think about this one very carefully, because this is the final question for the Oracle.
And she might die.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that. I'm saying she might die, because after the last question, I have to make a roll for her. And if she fails her save, it's a lot of damage.
Oh no.
Like a lot. And it's psychic damage.
We better not kill this old lady. I'm gonna feel so bad.
She knew what she was getting into.
But still, it'll be our fault.
I don't got any heals.
I do. I don't know if that'll help. I could literally just kill her while
Let's see. Real quick before we ask, we need to be on standby to see if we can save the old lady. So if anybody has anything that could save her. I'm looking.
You have healing word. I don't know if that would stabilize her if she falls.
All my stuff hurts.
Here, I'll prepare healing word. So if she does drop 0 hit points or whatever, or falls unconscious, I could just save her, I guess. Because then she would at least hit.
Wait.
I don't know. Then I'll prepare healing word.
Is this... So the roll that you have to make, it's not an attack roll against her, right? It's a save?
It's a save that she has to make.
Okay.
Do we have anything that makes people have advantage on saves?
Well, I could, so she's making a saving throw?
Yeah, but I mean, you guys don't know this because it's a 5th level spell, so you don't really know what she has to go through. That's why I've been describing her her gradual suffering during the spell.
Gross. Because I could use Flash of Genius, because when a creature within 30 feet of you makes a reaction or makes an ability check or saving throw, you can add your intelligence modifier to the roll. But I don't know if that would apply in this situation.
Artificer.
Well, anyways, we're asking. I feel like maybe we could research the icons of evil, but I feel like the elements are going to be very difficult to find an exact, like, what these elements mean. Because I understand the elements. There are many elements, but it's very vague right now exactly what elements. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So, what and where?
How?
Where could we locate
Why?
these elements? When? I don't know.
I feel like we should just ask, like...
Or what?
I feel like how is probably the best of those to ask.
If you
like,
want to get a very clear quest marker, we could just... What should our first step be in
Unifying.
saving to me? Like, where are we going?
I'm just afraid that if we do that, we'll get, like, step 1, and then we'll be like, great.
I mean, I'm sure she's not the only source on the continent for information. There is a thing called a textbook. Not every
I am aware.
Again.
Not every answer must be asked.
Well, use that to guide you, though, because if you know that, for example, then, you know, it would maybe occur to you that there are some things that you're likely able to find out in a book, but maybe some things that you're not going to be able to find in a book that she could help you with.
Because I feel like, yeah, because I feel like we could probably find information about the icons of evil in some sort of book or text.
Yes.
I feel like asking how do we collect the elements is a toughie to find in a book.
I think I could. I'm proficient in. I'm proficient in Arcana and History. Is there any... Could I try to make a check if that sounds vaguely familiar to anything I've researched? Either the icons or the elements?
Probably seen so.
Yes. I mean, in theory, both. So Arcana would provide you with one kind of perspective into that thought process or that query. History would provide you with less of a focus on the magic and more of a focus on how this maybe has impacted the history or the peoples of the continent. So do you want to kind of think about do you want to see what else you would know as it relates to what she said about the elements?
Yes.
Okay. So based on the fact that you guys found this orb, the black one, you have learned that she has associated it with death and the void and the god Sinkaron, that you go ahead and make your Arcana roll.
Alright. I'll also add my Flash of Genius to that if I want it to be. Oh geez, I don't need to do that. 15, 20, 22, 25.
Okay. So you understand that the gods play an active role on Chamenos, and that there are many gods worshipped by the people of Chamenos, right? Like Thalassa is the god of the sea, the one that Obstinatus' people, but even like other Kamina who live around the coastal areas, they venerate Thalassa because he is both the bounty of the sea, but also the indomitable wickedness of the sea, right? So, you know, you pray to Thalassa for, you know, for your fish or for your your safe passage on the sea. But you apologize to Thalassa if there's a massive storm on the sea or a huge tidal wave, destroying coastal villages, right? So you know that each of these gods, some of them are related to elements, right? And some of them are related to earth and wind. And so you have a feeling that these references to the elements might be something similar to what you found with this orb, and that maybe there is some kind of elemental physical things that are being referenced in this prophecy that the oracle has provided you with. Some kind of physical, like tangible, elemental, magical things.
Okay, I think based on my prior research, and if we need to find more of this and try to find more of them, we could ask where we could find the physical embodiments of these elements. Even if we get some kind of vague prophecy-like statement from that, it would give us somewhere to go. Otherwise, trying to research flatly from that's, if they do exist, there would be very little information in the public knowledge about it, or accessible to us, without extensive research. Because obviously this information, if they do exist, they would be hidden.
Yeah, and like in Ohiro, which is a much larger city, first of all, there are places where knowledge is kept, which include, schools, private collections, and most prominently temples, right? And that in Ohiro, there's a temple to Mitera, and Mitera is the goddess of divination. Like she's one of the goddesses of divination and life, and like her priestesses are like they have superb like libraries in their temples. They store knowledge, and they're also skilled in divination, much like this witch.
So then, theoretically, we would then like research there if we wanted to try to find
just as an option. And there are, even though there are not a lot of big cities on the entire continent, that like there are other places around the continent that you guys haven't even traveled to, but that you have heard of, to the north, and that there are other places that also might have stores of knowledge. Who has proficiency in religion? No one. Yeah. So I'll just say that that there are other deities in the pantheon. That some of them are worshipped by like the Kamina, the human people. Some of them are worshipped by the Tritons and the Satyrs and the Minotaurs and the Centaurs and all the other different races, right? And that depending on where you are on the continent, some of those deities have a greater importance than others. So you feel like there's a lot of lore that is untapped that could be, researched further.
Okay, so
the elemental thing, if you wanted to ask her about that, you could, but you also feel like that's something that maybe you could find out more about by talking with people, by researching from books, by, traveling from place to place.
So does that mean the icons of evil are more what?
That is obscure to you. You have not heard that phrase, the icons of evil. You have not heard of that phrase. None of you guys have. But if you tried to guess at its significance, you would assume that they mean like the kind of evil that is the stuff of legend, right? Now, you don't know specifics, but you all have heard of big bad things. You've even encountered some big bad things, right? So, for example, Obstinatus was on patrol in the Great Lake when his ship was smashed and he barely survived from a epic sea serpent. Not a sea serpent, sorry, because this is a freshwater lake, but from an epic aquatic serpent, okay? Skjorn and Obstinatus both know of and encountered at the time what was a young green dragon. Well, something or someone had to have made that young green dragon. So you guys know that there are fierce things that exist on the continent. But the phrase icons of evil is something that escapes you in terms of like specific, like what or who these icons are. That's something that you don't know. Now, whether you could find out more about those by researching and asking around, could be. But that's kind of like what your base knowledge is.
Okay. So then theoretically it would probably make more sense for us to ask what the icons of evil are.
Could
right?
be.
Or if you guys have any better ideas of like what we should...
Like who they are, what they are.
This is a very unorthodox method of research. Where do we go outside again, or just like in the?
Yeah, well, I'll just say that you guys are like kind of off on your own talking.
Can Talos hear us?
Sure.
Okay. Maybe Talos. Well.
Okay, I mean, Talos is still sitting there as a bird, just listening to your conversation.
When is Talos not a bird?
It lasts for 4 hours, so I mean, I can.
Oh, so you got a minute.
I can choose not to be a bird, but he's just listening to your conversation right now.
Epic. Okay.
So, do we want to go? Who and what are they, or how do we go about finding them? How do we go about stopping them? I don't know.
Like what? What are the weaknesses of the icons of evil? How would we defeat the icons of evil? That makes sense.
How do we stop her?
How do we defeat the icon? Or like what? I feel like we just need to know what they are, right?
Yeah,
like,
we need to know what they are. Some names would help if they have names.
What? I guess just what are
the icons of evil?
Yeah, I guess so. Is everybody fine with that?
I mean, like, you sound upset with that question.
Really, there's lots of information.
There's going to be so many questions that people comment, and they're going to be like, you should have thought of this.
Yeah, it's always easy after you watch the episode to come up with the answer. All right, so you're going to ask about the icons of evil. How are you going to ask this question? What's the phrasing?
That's also what I'm having trouble with. Because really the information that we are trying to gain is some kind of name or location that we could gain from that, or something that I could, research. But I don't know if you're saying what are they would be too vague. Like what? how do we identify the icons of evil? Does that sound right?
What if her answer was, find some books? See, then you would feel dumb, right?
Yeah.
I would cry.
I'm gonna feel them either way. So, are we just asking what they are?
Yeah, I mean, what are the icons of evil?
All right, that's. Yeah, I just want to go to a library. I'm so much more comfortable with the scribe in my hands and not staring into the white eyes of a witch dying as I research.
True.
Yeah.
True that.
Prefer to be outside.
All right, well, we're gonna sit back down.
The icons of evil.
Finally, I did want to prepare my healing word. It's a bonus action spell. So just because she looks sickly anyway, so that when we're done asking questions, if it will at least help her by some means. So I'm gonna prepare that anyway. I don't know if that'll help. And we're gonna ask, what are the icons of evil?
A potent question indeed. What are the icons of evil? What are the icons of evil? Yes, the icons of evil. 11 there were. 11 once long ago. 1 dead now. Yet 11 there are still. Find them you can through searching legends and lore. Some are sleeping. Some are far away. Some are close. And yet there are more. Some are below the ground. Some are in the sky. Some are deep in water, and some prefer to lie. The icons of evil. Not all of them you will find. But if you can stop enough of them, free shall be your mind.
She slumps forward, as if unconscious.
Is she alive?
You can make a medicine check.
All right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna make a quick medicine check.
I want to cast the healing word on her. Just either way.
Okay.
Well, I got a 6, so that's not gonna do much.
You're like, she's dead! and then
Where's my D4?
I double check his work just to make sure.
Give me your D4.
So I rolled a
Give me your
21.
D4. Plus I can add 8 to my D4. 11.
Yeah. You make her feel much better. She kind of perks up and she's like, thank you. Your kindness and thoughtfulness have helped me to recover. Typically, I sleep for many hours or even a day to recover from the gods being in my mind. It takes its toll, you know. But it is worth it. Yes, it is worth it to be able to feel them moving through the valley. So, were your answers helpful? Did the gods speak to you through me and reveal truths that you did not know?
Yes, they did. Thank you very much for your help.
She nods, and she's like, she reaches over to her side and grabs her cup of tea and takes a sip, and she's like,
Now, what will you do with your orb? It cannot be kept here. No. No, they will seek it sooner or later, but it cannot be kept here.
Well, it's obviously necessary for unification, and people are looking for it, so I think we're gonna have to keep it with us. What do you guys think?
I suppose so, although that poses many risks to both us and whoever we may visit in the future.
If we end up visiting like family or friends or anything, or a large town, I wonder if one of us could stay outside with it, or if someone...
I also feel that leaving one of us to just hold it alone would also be very dangerous.
You know, you make some good points.
Well, for now, we'll just carry it with us. And maybe in the future we could inquire in some way to secure it. Maybe a temple or some kind of research, or a way to at least neutralize it for now, or some kind of method of hiding it so that those who do seek it will not automatically know. We are already now being seeked by the man from the cave for our actions here. So it seems like we're having a lot of people who will now be following us. All he knows currently is that obviously we've taken the egg, as he's seen at least 2 of us.
So, have we told this lady that there's a chimera flying around searching for the egg in her house?
She knows that there was a chimera there, because when we first arrived, she knew it was there and assumed that we were eaten.
She's a smart cookie. There's no way she doesn't know that.
It's also why she wouldn't want to go get the egg herself, I would imagine.
I'm just saying he could smell it or something. Smash right through her ceiling.
She says, "It will not find you here. The cottage is safe from scrutiny, and they will not find you here."
Let's just stay here.
No senses or magic will pierce the veil. But when
Could I
you
ask
leave,
why?
it is protected, of course.
Because magic.
There is a price for my secrecy, a price for the sanctuary that is my home in this valley. I serve Mitera. And thus, divination will not find me. Only walking by your faith can you find my mountain valley. No magic will bring anyone here. But I cannot leave either. So I will stay. Yes, I will stay until my time is done, and Synchron claims me. You are safe here if you need to rest. You may stay the rest of the day and the night and leave in the morning if you wish. Nothing will find you while you are under my roof.
That's very generous. I would appreciate that. What do you guys think?
That would be quite the opportunity to get a good rest and get a nice head start on our venture tomorrow early to get away from this area quickly.
Very well, then. You are welcome to stay. She smiles, and she kind of stands up slowly with her cane, and she goes over towards her little rocking chair and
grabs the blanket, kind of sits down next to her rocking chair and begins rocking back and forth. And within like 3 minutes, she's asleep. So you guys are just hanging out in the cottage, in the valley. Talos, this entire time, you've seen nothing but nice, pretty clouds.
I've been keeping a very vigilant watch.
Yeah, no chimera flying above, just nice blue sky, pretty clouds, sounds of, nature and insects and gentle sound of the wind kind of blowing through the valley. It's extremely peaceful. It might be, oddly enough, one of the most peaceful places you've ever been. And as long as you don't leave the roof, that's it. How long do you stay in your big bird form?
Okay, so I can do it for 4 hours, and I assume that probably the time that it took us to take the egg down and then go and get everybody and do that, it's been, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like middle of the day.
Yeah, so after a while, if I see nothing on the roof, I'm gonna stay in my bird form, but I'm gonna poke around, like, the perimeter, like, do a...
As long as you don't fly up out of the valley, you don't really see anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'll stay in the valley, but I'll just keep watch around me.
Okay. Hours go by. Does anyone do anything special?
In my time, I would like to... Did the Oracle do anything special with the egg yet? Like, put it away?
No, it's still sitting on her bed, like, by her pillow.
If she wouldn't mind, I would just like to study it and examine its intricacies. It's a very rare research experience.
You get out your journal and you kind of like sketch it. It's remarkable how smooth, like, compared to the other colored eggs that were kind of scaled or had like different patterns. This one is just amazingly like smooth and shiny, and it's incredible. It's almost like a mirror in terms of its smoothness and its like reflectiveness.
Interesting.
The shell also seems to be truly sturdy. Like the other eggs had like a strong kind of almost rocky stone feeling and texture to them. This one feels like metal.
Yes.
Let's see. Anybody else? Obstinatus, what are you doing during this downtime?
I mean, I'm probably not gonna leave the valley, but like, are there any libraries nearby that maybe we could go to?
No,
tomorrow?
you guys are so far away from civilization. You're like a 2-day journey to Nerostema and like a 4-day journey to Ohiro. So your town's actually closer. Like if you head due east out of the mountains, your town is the closest town.
Maybe we should talk about what we want to do tomorrow, because...
Well, tomorrow we're just gonna leave early. Like, at the break of dawn, we'll get a nice early night's rest tonight. At the break of dawn, we'll begin a quick journey towards Nerostema.
Okay. I would really like to see my brother, but I'm a little bit nervous going there with this orb.
Facts.
Otherwise, I don't know where particularly we could put it.
Well, like I said, I mean, you're 2 days away from Nerostema. You're about 4 days away from Ohiro. The only people you know in Nerostema are Obstinatus and Obstinatus's friends or family. In Ohiro, you know a fair amount of people. Now, Talos hasn't been back to Ohiro in a while, but Talos knows several people still in the military. you know your father and other kind of people that he associates with. So I mean, you know a few more people in the city than you do in Neurostema.
Well, if you'd prefer to head to Ohiro, we could go there.
But, like, I don't want to put any of your guys' loved ones in danger either. So, I mean, like, I feel like this is probably going to be a recurring issue with the orb. And I just don't know how to solve it.
That's why our big goal is maybe going somewhere like either Ohiro or Neurostema. We would then research a bit more about it or inquire on some way in which we might be able to house it or study it. Maybe my father would also like the opportunity to study an artifact like this, or other researchers of the area.
So the rest of your day is fairly restful. In the evening, she goes over to her like cupboard, and she gathers like a variety of like legumes, just vegetables and potatoes and stuff, and she goes out to her little garden and gathers some fresh herbs, and then you see her cast a spell, and like a whole clutch of bunnies come out of like the forest and come up to her hut, and she kind of like looks around and pets them, and then she grabs like 2 of them really fast and like cracks them up against the wall of the cottage and snaps their neck, and then she guts them and starts like skinning them and stuff, and she starts making this amazing soup with the freshly killed bunnies and all the vegetables and herbs. And while some of you are terrified, others amongst you, especially Skjorn, it is mouth-watering. And Talos, you even have to admit that you haven't smelled like a fresh meal like this in quite some time, because you've been kind of living off the scrub brush out by your old abandoned fort. So you guys wait, kind of hanging out. You have this amazing meal, this fresh stew that she makes a couple hours later. And as the sun is setting in the valley, it's just peaceful. She invites you to go sit out in front of the cottage and to marvel, at the setting sun. And, she breaks out this home brewed wine that she's made. And it's amazing. It's some of the best wine you've ever had. And she just kind of enjoys sitting out with you guys quietly, and she genuinely seems to enjoy the company of having you there. You get the sense that she spends the vast majority of her time alone in the valley.
It's cute.
So as the evening wears on, you guys kind of hang out with her, and then you all retire into the cottage, and you find kind of places around the floor to set up your bedrolls. And while it's not as perfect as sleeping on a bed, it's much better than sleeping outside. And she has a nice fire going, so it's warm in the cottage, and you guys fall off into a peaceful sleep of fresh air in the valley. And in the morning, you wake up early, the sound of birds at dawn kind of being your natural alarm clock. You gather your things, and the oracle stands out to you, and she gestures to the black orb that you should take it. And then she says, she kind of like looks out at you with her blind eyes, and she says,
"Take the mountain path back down to the fork in the path, and follow it south and east, and you will arrive out of the mountains. Perhaps it is safer to follow that way, to avoid that which might be looking for you in the sky. You will have a bit more of a tree canopy to cover your movement. However, once you leave the mountains and you are out in the open lands, I bid you be careful. Remember, heroes, Sincaron will always have his due, one day or another. May the gods watch over you and bless you.
And she nods her head at all of you. And as you guys walk down the path and you get back down to the fork, you see that there's this, not even path, like the main path that you guys came up on, but like almost like a little blind between some trees and bushes. And you see this little like animal path that you could follow that would go south and east, that leads through more of a wooded part of the mountains, almost like a secret escape trail. And waiting for you down by the fork are your two zombie children. They look like they haven't moved in several days, which is actually what they haven't done. They haven't moved at all. And when you approach, they show absolutely no emotion. They are not excited to see you because they're dead. So they just stand and wait. And then as you approach and you start going down the secret wooden path, they start to follow. And you proceed out of the mountains. And that is where we'll end this episode of Storied Sojourns. Tune in for the next episode. And of course, make sure that you like and subscribe. Otherwise, you'll miss important things in this ongoing adventure of epic proportion. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out and goodbye.
Well, hello, it's me, Wizzy. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. And then don't forget to tune in to the next episode of whatever show you were just watching, and crafting videos and DM tips and pro tips for vlogging and all sorts of gaming things.